Okay, all right, it looks like I'm live. All right, guys, this is actually somewhat comical. Rebecca and I just conducted Silver Camp number 3, and as we were ending the session, I realized that there was some significant operator error and nobody hit record. Okay, so I'm going to go through all this again, and if you guys tuned in last time and you're watching this again, then that's great. You'll probably hear things just slightly different. But if you were not able to watch it, and now this is your opportunity to. So we wanted to make sure we got this out there for everybody to listen. So I'm just going to start fresh, just kind of like it's a live class, and just roll with this. So one, I wanted to say, really the timing of what you guys are doing right now is exceptional. And, part of that message being that we are literally coming up on the most important 2 months in Advocare's calendar year. And it's just because we're leading into January, February, and March. And you guys all know what happens then in terms of New Year's resolutions. They all deal with finances. They all deal with health and fitness. I mean, January is just a crazy, crazy good month for business earners in Advocare. And then, what we've also got, cooking between now and then is what's going to basically propel you to success in that time frame. Because literally every seed that you plant right now, every spark that you offer, every time you share, it's all going to come to fruition between now and then. If not, it's going to take place in January and February and March. And there's a couple key points there I want people to think about too, because we're already starting to get some of that feedback. And I'm like, well, it's that time of year, people, they don't want to do a challenge, they don't have the money. But keep in mind, there's multiple ways here to attack this. One of them being, in terms of compensation, people need money now more than any other time of the year. And keep in mind, people have placed advisor orders and had those orders spoken for before they showed up on their doorstep. That's $900, guys. Literally, somebody could place their order today and have $900 in their pocket for Christmas before December. Heck, they could do that. We've had people do that. Brooks and Chris actually had Jason and Rachel Allen had their advisor order spoken for when it showed up on their doorstep. All right, so it is possible to turn that into cash very, very quickly. The other thing to think about too is, not only in terms of, maybe people don't want to do a full 24-day challenge right now, but get people on meal replacement shakes, okay? They're on the go right now. They need good, high quality, superior nutrition now, okay, while they're running around like crazy. They need Spark right now because everybody's staying up late. Everybody needs lots of extra energy. They need M&S right now, okay? They need a lot of our products. SleepWorks might even help them right now. That's an impact product. So as you get people on products, they're going to do more in January, okay? They may do a full challenge. They're going to get their mother to do it with them, their sister to do it with them. They're going to get other people involved. That's when they're going to continue to do more. So keep that in mind, all right? It's a huge time of year. Now, that's part of why I kind of want to lead in that way, because what we're talking about tonight is mainly business focused, okay? And I think it's one of the best classes in this program. But we're going to talk a lot about the business opportunity and what's in front of us right now. Now, let me kind of share with you Robert Kiyosaki, who did Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it's kind of funny, we were laughing about this earlier because, this is a book that came out in 2000 when Rebecca and I got married, and my father-in-law, who is Mr. Blue Collar, or I'm sorry, Mr. White Collar, actually, corporate America, absolutely loved this book. And, every time we saw him, I'm not joking, every time we saw him for the better part of probably 6 months, he referenced this book, all right? And what Robert Kiyosaki lays out in this is kind of the 4 quadrants of businesses and kind of where people fall in those quadrants. Now, as you look at this, and I'm going to pull a little bit closer here, so just so you guys can get maybe a little better look at it, 95% of Americans fall in this as you're looking at the left-hand column, all right? These are employees. These are people that are exchanging hours for dollars, all right? It might be the person working at Starbucks that's making an hourly wage. It might be a corporate CEO, okay, who's paid on a salaried basis, but he's still exchanging time for dollars, okay? And that was even me. We laughed about this earlier, but, I remember having a previous supervisor tell me that the company, paid me to work 24 hours a day, I was just lucky that they didn't make me do that, okay? And the guy had a smile on his face. He was kind of laughing. He was kind of joking. But the point was there. He was pretty serious about this. So those are employees. Whether or not you're paid on a salary basis or an hourly basis, you are exchanging time for dollars, okay? Now, down here, these are people that are self-employed. And we all naturally think, well, those people have it a little bit better. They're better than employees. They're self-employed. Something to think about here, though, is they're still exchanging time for dollars, because this is Rebecca, okay? This is her with her dance business. If she doesn't show up or have somebody show up to teach a class, she doesn't get compensated, all right? This is the same with trainers. It's anybody who's providing something like that to somebody, like a plumber. You know what I mean? If he doesn't get called out to work on a job, he's not going to get paid. If Rebecca didn't show up to teach her class, she didn't get paid. She was still trading hours for dollars, all right? Whether she's self-employed or not. And the really sad part about this is 95% of Americans over here, but it's only 5% of the wealth, all right? That's kind of the scary part. Now, over here on this side, this is where we're talking about 95% of the wealth in America, okay? This is the real wealth. This comes from investors, all right? People that have the necessary or have the capital up front to be able to invest, to have that capital provide a living for them. Very few people have that kind of capital at their disposal to live as an investor. And then this is where Advocare comes into play, in the business owner section. And then keep in mind, this is important here, it's actually a system that works for you. And that's huge, okay? Keep in mind, this is where you get compensated in terms of residual income. And when you're a business owner for a system that actually works for you, you dictate that instead of the business dictating when you work. When I was over here as an employee, if my boss told me I needed to be in India next week, I was there. If they said you're in Seattle the week after that, I was there. As a self-employed employee, you don't show up, you don't get paid. The nice thing about this business owner system is, guys, and today is just a perfect example. It was Veterans Day. Brandon was off school. In a way, every day is like a holiday for us, but it was because we were home, okay? We were home as a family. Now, Rebecca and I got some work done. We talked to some people. We helped, generate some business. We helped other people grow their business. So we were still engaged, but we were engaged when we chose to be. We had some quality time this morning as a family. We were here all day together. We went for a hike around the lake this afternoon, and then we grabbed an early dinner. And it actually occurred to me that I was on my way home, or I actually were on our way home from kind of an afternoon outing at 5 o'clock. And it literally occurred to me that back in my old corporate world, I would just now be thinking about trying to get out of the office. And then I had an hour commute to get home. And so it was going to be 6 or 6:30 at the earliest when I would get home. And instead, I had done all this stuff all afternoon with my family, okay? And meanwhile, we're still getting compensated, okay? Keep in mind, it's a system that continues to pay you even though you're not actively engaged every single minute, all right? So anyway, that's just a quick overview of kind of the lay of the land, and then this is where Advocare comes into play and why it's so, why it's so beneficial for all of us to be involved. Now let me slide this out of the way real quick. And we're only going to show one video tonight, and it's on the Debt Buster system. One of our vice presidents, just an amazing gentleman, Ron Reynolds, developed the Debt Buster system. It's available for all of us, okay? It's free, and that just blows me away. And it makes sense, okay? Advocare has even said, why would we charge people to help them get out of debt? They're already in debt. They don't need to be paying for something else. They need a system to help them get out of debt. And, guys, numbers are staggering, okay? They are literally they're all around us right now. But the average American credit card debt right now is $15,000, okay? The average student loan debt right now is $31,000. All the more reasons why people need what we have to offer. I mean, the products are one thing. The Plan B income, that is probably the best product that we have to offer. And the statistics are all around us. And it's one of the reasons why this business is growing so well. But I know a lot of us come into Advocare with some debt that we've got to work our way through. Very few people know that system is available to you. It's free and it's out there. It's through customer service. And I'm going to pull that video up right now. so that you have a little better explanation of that and what that looks like. So bear with me one. Okay, here it is. I'll play that for you right now.
Debt freedom is the single freedom that makes all other freedoms possible.
With Advocare's award-winning Debt Buster system, anyone can learn the basics of living debt-free forever.
Between school debt and some credit cards and just whatnot, we just blinked and all of a sudden it just happened. We found ourselves in quite a bit of debt.
Most Americans, if they lost their job today, have enough access to money in a bank account or someplace where they would be able to cover their current overhead for about 2 months.
When we started our journey with Advocare, the first thing that we did was we ordered the Debt Buster system, and we wrote down every single one of our debts. And let me tell you that that was a lesson in breaking down pride. Once we wrote down all of our debt, we just got real with where we were, but we were also able to now get in action and get in a plan. It told us what to do step by step.
Average American today has 8 credit cards, and they owe, on average, now over $10,000.
This free program helps you eliminate debt by systematically setting up a payment plan that helps you tackle all your bills with the extra income you earn at Advocare.
It's simple, it works. Obviously, we paid off $150,000 worth of debt using it.
3 years.
In 3 years. So, talk about freedom.
The opportunity along with the Debt Buster system, which is awesome, it allowed us to actually rid ourselves of a minimum of $60,000 worth of debt.
In 11 and a half months, we paid off $135,000 in debt. And I'll tell you, when you send out your last debt payment check, you want to throw a party. I mean, you are excited. It is just one neat feeling, because when you don't owe a penny to anyone, it's the one freedom that allows all other freedoms to come true.
All right, awesome. Again, it's free. Contact customer service. Get yours and put it to work, okay? All right, let's get back here. There we are. I was just, I was thinking, going back to this example and the difference between what we have as a business owner with Advocare and then being self-employed. I was reminded of an example, and this is like real life stuff. Going back 2.5 years ago when we were getting involved, or I should say when Rebecca was getting involved with Advocare. And I mentioned I've got an hour commute. I would drive an hour to the office. And there was a guy that I used to work with years ago that I was still friends with that I would talk to periodically. And we ended up talking a little bit more because Rebecca was getting involved with Advocare. And this guy was purchasing a sandwich franchise store, okay? So he was becoming self-employed, right? Now, it's real interesting because, as I'm talking to him, I'm asking him, well, and I just knew we're friends, so I'm like, well, what's that costing you? How much did you borrow to do that? And he actually took out a loan for $370,000, okay? That's a lot of money, okay? But it's funny, the mindset is because, I was looking at like, oh, wow, he's borrowing $370,000. That's really must be a great opportunity, which is funny. And then I'm thinking, all right, we're spending $2,100 to become advisors in Advocare. It made it seem kind of small. It made it seem kind of less than, because it was just more money up front. But then I started asking him more questions. I'm like, well, what kind of revenue do you get from that? And he said, well, the average store brings in about $800,000 a year. All right, that sounds pretty impressive, right? $800,000. Wow, that's a big deal. And then the next question, for me was, well, what kind of earnings do you get from that? How much are you going to be bringing home? And there again, he said, well, the average store brings home between 5 and 10%. Okay, so I started, my mind starts working, and when I got to the office, I just took that average 5 to 10. I took 7.5%. Based on an average store, all right, average revenue, average earnings, assuming everything runs as planned. that means he's going to bring home about $60,000 a year. Okay, so now that's one thing. But then I started thinking, that's not including interest. And that's not including money that I'm assuming he needs to use to put food on the table and to pay his mortgage and other things. So that's all coming out of that. And even if he took that whole $60,000 every year from his average store and put it towards what he had loaned, it was going to take him over 6 years to repay that loan. And again, that's if everything went as planned and if his store produced as it was expected to. So there's a lot of chances there over the course of 6 years that something could go wrong. And that seemed like a lot of money that he took out. And the really funny thing is after I started really examining that and seeing what he was doing and how in my mind that seemed pretty risky for kind of minimal return on his investment, I looked at what we're doing, and now it's easier for me to say, okay, at the time there was very little risk involved in what we did. So it wasn't like we were really gambling a whole lot. But now I look back 2.5 years later, we've taken that one-time $2,100 investment and turned it into over $30,000 a month. All right, that is an amazing return on investment. And there's so many people that are doing a whole lot more with this than we are, okay? And it's not unusual for that to occur. And then the really funny thing is, getting back to the cash flow quadrant, right? Every time I talk to this guy, he's at his store. He's dealing with high school employees. They're driving him crazy. He's got scheduling issues. He's got to find subs. He's open around the clock. And every time I talk to him, he's worried about the lunch rush, or he's busy making sandwiches. And not that there's anything wrong with making sandwiches, but he's kind of tied down. He is tied down. He's very much tied down to his store. And like I said, we spent today hiking around the lake. Okay, so you tell me which sounds like the better return on your investment and a better use of your time. All right, what we have our hands on is absolutely amazing. Okay, so with that now, the next thing I want to talk about real quick, or I think I'm done with that. The next thing I want to talk about here is, let me get this up here for us. You can all see it. I want to talk about some of the more common objections, and I'm going to lean over in front of the camera and get my pen. Okay, so let's talk about some of the most common objections that we all have, and we all get them, okay, as we're sharing this opportunity with people. So don't ever think you're the only one that stumbles across these. But probably the most common objection is that the market is too saturated. And I love this one. I just think this is comical. Just because somebody sees one of our advertisements on ESPN or they see Jason Witten on ABC, they think, oh, wow, everybody must be doing it. Everybody knows about Advocare. Guys, it could not be further from the truth, okay? And those people that have that mindset of it's too late to get involved, quite honestly, that's probably just an excuse, okay? They probably really don't want to get involved, and that's just kind of a way for them to get out of it. You're better off moving on. But the reality of the situation is, a few years ago when we started sponsoring the NASCAR races, we did some focus study groups, and we looked at our top 5 markets, okay, the top 5 cities where we had the largest presence. We were recognized in less than 1% of those markets, all right, less than 1%. Think in terms of total members, all right? This is the one that blows me away. Right now, Advocare has, and I'm just going to say this is approximately 350,000 members, okay? The U.S. population is somewhere in the ballpark of, what, 320, something like that, 320 million people. So that's just slightly over 1% are currently members, all right? Look at where Advocare is. We grew, what, 80% last year. We're growing another 50% this year. We're expected to grow another 50% next year in 2014. And less than 1% of the population is currently involved, okay? I mean, that's staggering to me. When I look at where this could be, where our business could be, and where your business could be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, that blows me away. All right. Now here's another thing to think about too. Market saturation. No, I mean, you walk into wherever you're at right now, like if you walk into a Panera or you walk into any other store, there's most of those people in there have never heard of Advocare, okay? I drive down the road, I see all these cars, all these houses, all these people, and I know 99% of them are not aware of Advocare. That's still a market that's available out there. And, we compare ourselves a lot to other wholesale, or I should say other retailers that offer wholesale discounts like Sam's Club and Costco. Now, Sam's Club, approximately, the last number I could find was around 47 million customers. Costco, and I should say members, Costco, closer to 68 million. All right, those numbers are amazing, absolutely staggering. You look at where we're at right now, 350,000. And if we ever even come close, even just ballpark, come close to hitting millions of wholesale customers like Sam's Club and Costco, guys, we've got years to go. I mean, I don't see that we'll ever be completely saturated. And again, that's why this is such a great one for me. I even look at those are kind of big, broad numbers. I mean, boil this down to right now where I'm standing. You can think you got Brooks and Chris Reed are about 10 minutes away. They're Diamond distributors. Mary Alice and Philip Duncan live right next to them. They're 9-star Emerald distributors. In their neighborhood, so again, also 10 to 15 minutes away, you have a Platinum distributor. Okay, so right here within 15 minutes, you've got 2 Diamonds, a 9-star, and a Platinum. Okay, if any place we're going to be saturated, it's here. We bump into people all the time, all right, all the time that have never heard of Advocare. There is plenty of air for all of us to breathe, okay? And Advocare is just getting started. So too saturated is awesome, okay? You want to hear that, and now you've got some ammunition to back it up as to why it's not. Let's also talk about number 2. This one comes up all the time, and I'm gonna graphically represent it, all right? Pyramid. It's a pyramid scheme, okay? It's got to be. Now, I'll say a lot of times when you really start talking to somebody who has this initial reaction or mindset, they've probably been burned by something in the past. They may have gotten involved with some type of direct sales organization that didn't last long, that was only around for months or a year, that maybe was unscrupulous in some way. So they've probably been burned and hurt somewhere. So that may be where they're coming from with that. And it's interesting when you really start asking them questions and trying to dive down a little bit deeper, you find out sometimes, what's caused that. But the other thing, what I like to think about too, when you think in terms of a pyramid, just look at your Impact magazine, okay? If we were and first and foremost, pyramids are illegal, okay? So think about that. We would not be advertising on ESPN. We would not be advertising on ABC. We wouldn't be sponsoring college football classics. We wouldn't have NCAA strength and conditioning coaches as part of our sports advisory council, okay? We wouldn't be sponsoring the upcoming Kentucky-Baylor basketball games, all right? Guys, we wouldn't be sponsoring NASCAR races. I mean, one, it's kind of a ludicrous claim, I guess, when you think about it, when you look at how open and public we are out there, when you figure that's something that's illegal, okay? But now the other thing to think about is, and I'm going to take this back to my previous world that I used to work in, is look at most corporations. And I'm just going to use some generic titles here, but let's just say kind of at the bottom of this pyramid, okay, you may have what we call, administrators. And then maybe you've got coordinators, and then supervisors, and superintendents, and managers, and directors, and VPs, and then a CEO somewhere up here, okay? Guys, do you know what the salary structure for that looks like? I mean, keep in mind, it's literally like this. You've got more admins than you have coordinators. You've got, fewer supervisors, and then fewer superintendents, fewer managers. And by the way, as you work your way up the dollars go up, all right? I mean, it is literally, most of corporate America is the salary structures in the shape of a pyramid. In a way, which is what makes this really ironic, and our friend Jason Miller down in Ohio loves to poke fun at this all the time. In a way, what we have is almost like an anti-pyramid, because this person right here, okay, that brand new person, one of you guys that might be brand new to this, you can make more money than the person above you, and more money than the person above them, and more money than the person above them. It is purely based on your individual performance and your results and how much you want to go after this and how much you want it, okay? That's all this is. Where in corporate America, this person's never going to make more money than this person unless they get promoted over years. Guys, we've had people do this all the way up to diamond in 11 months. And it was purely based on their own individual effort. They didn't have to knock anybody else out of the way. They didn't have to have somebody else promote them. It was purely up to them. And they went out and they got it and they made it happen. Okay? Guys, this for us was 18 months. Okay? It was the same for the Reeds. It's very possible and it's purely up to you. So again, pyramid's a good one for people to bring up. I actually love that objection. Now, the third one. Cost. Cost justification. All right. This is more a matter of just helping them understand how how the process, how the program works. I use examples a lot of times, real live examples. I was actually sitting in a Starbucks one time talking to somebody about the 24-day challenge. I told him what it cost retail. I said, oh, it's $190. You add some catalyst to it. You're talking about $220. Ooh, well, that's pretty expensive. And I kind of reminded him of what he had just ordered, okay? And I think it was like an oatmeal, and I don't remember if he got a coffee, but he got some kind of drink to go with it. I mean, it was over $6, and I think it was even close to $7. If you look at a 24-day challenge, retail, okay, at full retail price is $7. That's literally what that guy just spent that morning for breakfast, all right? If you're in front of a group and you're having this discussion, it's real easy to take a quick survey and say, okay, guys, think about what you spent today. How many in this room spent $1 on energy drinks? Okay, coffee, Diet Coke, Starbucks, Red Bull, you name it. How many spent $2, $3, $4, $5? And then just take a very conservative estimate. And you can say, a lot of times you can settle down on the $3. A lot of times it's easily what people spend a day on energy drinks. Then find out how much they spent for breakfast. Did they run through McDonald's? Did they stop at the convenience store? Did they get a greasy sausage biscuit? I don't know. And talk about what that looked like. Was it $3, $4? Was it $5? And again, come up with an estimate. Let's say that's another $3. Then you can include lunch, and you can start to add these things in there. You're real easily going to get this to the point where you zero out that $7. And then you come back and you talk about the discount with them. Well, you can even get that at a 20% discount. If you get it like where we're at and all you guys are at 40%, you're talking $4 a day. It's $4 and some change. All right? They are easily going to recoup that. And I even use, again, a couple examples. Shelby Andahl from our team, she's very cost conscious. Looked at this and first said, Ryan, I just can't afford that. And I told her that it's basically going to pay for itself because she's not going to be purchasing things that she's currently using. And, at first, quite honestly, she was like, yeah, I really don't believe that. But a month later, she came back and she said they had saved $100 on their grocery bill, okay? So they were paying for their product usage. Her father, who's going on to lose 60 pounds, says he basically pays for his Advocare by not eating out lunch, all right? That's how he pays for it. And then you add to that the fact that people just feel better, they look better, they're healthier, they're spending less money on doctors and prescriptions. It's a no-brainer. And so many people, including Shelby, come back and they're like, yeah, I would have spent double on this because they feel so much better and they're actually getting years back on their life. Okay, so that's one real easy way to talk about that. And the other thing that I'll just throw in there real quick too, don't forget, this is the highest quality nutritional product that somebody can put to their body. When you look at the quality that goes into our protein, into the muscle gain shake, for instance, that is like literally our president, Richard Wright, told us that the protein that goes into those products is typically graded on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the best. When you go to a retail store, you don't know what you're going to get. A lot of times it's graded at 2 or 3, okay? Ours is specifically manufactured for us, and it's graded at a 7, okay? It's not even on that scale. So even for what is really a very cost-neutral price, they're getting an extremely high-quality, healthy, and safe. It's tested, okay? It's a tested product that they're putting into their body. So when you can take all that into consideration, and the fact that it's basically going to be cost-neutral for them, It's not a bad deal. All right, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how they can actually get paid while they do that too. So let's talk about that. Let me erase this real quick. I'm going to use this again. And I'm sorry, guys, since I mentioned earlier, since I am doing this on my own this time, you don't get the benefit of having my beautiful wife help me with this right now. She's busy doing some other things, so you're stuck with me. Okay, so I apologize for that. But let's talk about the 4 different relationships that people can have with Advocare. And most of you know this, so I'm not going to go through this in tremendous detail, but I do want to explain a couple things as we work our way through this. One, and this is typically how I say it to somebody that I've been introduced to. So if you put me on a 3-way call, a lot of times I'll explain their menu of options to them. One, they can become a retail customer. It's just like going to Sam's Club. I'm sorry, that's a bad example. It's just like going to Target. It's like going to Best Buy, and it's buying something off the shelf. You're paying full retail price for it. And we never recommend that people do that. And I'll explain that a little bit why later. If that's all somebody wants to do, sure, we'll let them pay full retail price because we want to get them on products. We want to make them healthier, and we want to make them feel good. But at a minimum, we recommend people become wholesale customers. As a wholesale customer, they spend $79. They get a membership similar to Sam's Club or Costco. And with that $79, they actually get $60 worth of products. Okay? So for the extra $19, they get a minimum of a 20% discount. And they can get anywhere from a 20 to a 30% discount. And then number 3 and number 4 are essentially the same thing. And you'll hear this terminology throughout Advocare. Because once you get to advisor, and like all of you guys on this call, you're at the 40% discount level, what you really need to figure out is, are you a 3 or are you a 4? And the whole difference here is just the mindset. 3s love products. They want to use them as cheap as they can. And sure, if somebody approaches them, yeah, they'll share the products with them. Maybe they're going to make $200 a month or $300 a month. That's kind of what we call a hobbyist. Okay, they're there, they're available, they're fine. But number 4, these are people that are really going after this with a business mindset. People that are really focused on growing a business and actively sharing and actively helping other people feel better, look better, or perform better. And that's what we're going to talk about here in a little bit more detail. And while we're here, I guess I will go ahead and cover what this looks like when you talk to somebody about it. In my mind, this is easily, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the most effective way for somebody to get involved with Advocare. And that's very, very important from a business perspective, that you're able to talk about the business advisor level with strength and with confidence. Okay? And now hear those words I use. That does not mean pushy. That does not mean that you're driving somebody crazy. You're not making it weird. But if you and I were to talk, and we were to talk about business advisor, I would tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, that is the most cost-effective way for you to get involved with Advocare. When you place this 40% order, you're going to spend $2,100 for $3,000 of literally the world's finest nutritional products. Okay? There's $900 of savings or profit built into that, depending upon which way you want to look at it. If you're just looking at it as a long-term product user, you just saved $900. If you've got somebody that wants to lose 60 pounds, 100 pounds, they just saved $900 on the products that they're going to use to help them reach that goal. If you're looking at somebody that's interested in this from a business standpoint, there's $900 of profit built in there. And the beautiful part about any of this is there's no continuing obligation. There's no minimums, there's no quotas, there's no monthly fees, there's no auto shipments if you don't want them. It's yours to do with what you choose, okay? And that's huge, and that's important for people to understand. And even going back to our story, you know, you guys know Rebecca wanted to do this. I didn't want to do it. You know, I was not there, but I did recognize that she was going to get to this 40% level. And when I knew that, when Jason Pinnell explained to us what advisor looks like, I recognized the fact that I was like, well, all right, one of 3 things are going to happen. We're going to continue to use products. We love them. We see it results all around us. They're phenomenal. Yeah, we're going to use these products. Why shouldn't we use them as cheap as possible? And I'm a pretty cheap guy, okay? I want to use products at the cheapest possible price. So give me that discount right off the bat. 2, I thought if Rebecca's going to share this with other people, if she shares it with somebody tomorrow, and I want to be able to maximize our profits, why wouldn't I, okay? When you're at 20% or you're at 40% and you share this with somebody, you're doing the exact same work. Why wouldn't you maximize your profits immediately? Okay? And then the third thing is you've got a year to get your money back. So when you've got a year to get your money back with no continuing obligation, you're not going to lose money. Okay? You're going to use some products. You're going to use those products as cheap as possible. If you share it with people, you're going to maximize your profits. And then you've got a year to decide whether or not you really want to do this or not. So 3 months, 6 months, 9 months from now, you can send everything else back and get your money back, and you're done. All right? That's a no-brainer in my book. So those are the ways to get involved. Now, you guys all made the great decision to become business advisors. So what does that look like in terms of compensation? You can get compensated up to 5 different ways. And I'm just showing you this real quick because I'm going to kind of map this out for you here in a second. You can earn retail profits, wholesale commissions, and as advisors, you guys get number 3, 4, and 5. If somebody just does a $79 distributorship, they can earn retail profits. They're not going to be able to earn wholesale because they're going to be at a 20% discount. We'll talk about that more later. But number 3, 4, and 5 are available to you guys. So let's kind of walk through what that looks like. Put that down. Let's just say retail profit. It's the easiest one to understand. At retail, you guys all have a 40% discount, right? Your advisors, you're at 40%. If somebody goes to your website and they purchase retail products off of you, you're going to make 40%, just like that. So let's just say somebody buys a 24-day challenge and a bottle of Catalyst. Rebecca says Catalyst is not optional. I always listen to my wife, so every 24-day challenge that I sell has Catalyst in it, okay? So that's $220. You guys just made 40% off that, all right? That's $88. So one of these people that you shared with this past week, you sparked, they came back, they're like, that stuff is great. I want to do a 24-day challenge. Let's see what I can do with this. You buy it, they sell it, they buy it off of you retail. You just made $88, okay, just like that. Let's say over the course of a month, you get 5 people to do that. Can you do that? And I know you can. There's every single person on this call can get 5 people a month to do the 24-day challenge, all right? That equals $440. At your discount level, at 40%, you just made $440 just because you got 5 people that want to lose weight. Okay, now let's take that to the next level. Wholesale commissions. Wholesale. This is where somebody does a $79 order under you. They decide, hey, these products are great. I want to get a 20% discount. I'm going to continue to use them. Okay, so they do the same thing. They purchase a 24-day challenge with Catalyst. All right, but now the difference is you're going to make the difference between your discount and their discount. All right, well, let's just say they do the $79, you're at 40%, so it's a difference between 20% and 40%, so you're going to make 20% off of that. So that's $44. And let's just say you're more intentional at this point, because if you're signing up wholesale customers, you're doing something right. Let's say you can get 10 people to do that in the course of a month, and I know you can, because again, think about it. Who on this call doesn't know 10 people that need to lose 10 to 12 pounds? All right, we all do. So if you get 10 people to do that, there's your $440. Now, what's really interesting about this, and this is something that I want to hit on, I'm going to pull this a little bit closer. A lot of times, brand new people, they see this and they're like, all right, this is 40% and this is 20% profit. I want the 40% profit. I mean, most businesses, I'm hard pressed to think of a business that makes 40% profit, off its products. That's crazy. But think about this. When people purchase, when they get their wholesale discounts, okay, when they get their own 20% discount, you know what they're much more likely to do? They're much more likely to come back and be a repeat customer. They're going to continue to buy more products. A lot of times your retail customers, they're one-time shoppers, okay? They do it, they do a little bit, they move on. Once this person finishes the challenge, they're much, much more likely, remember this is a consumable product, they're much more likely to come back and purchase Spark, maybe try a SleepWorks, maybe use the Rehydrate, maybe they get into their performance products, okay? They want to keep using products, okay? So you're going to get much longer term residual product users, and this is really important, they're getting their products cheaper, okay? That's huge, guys. That's what's so amazing about this compensation and marketing plan is literally what's in your best interest is also in your customer's best interest, because as they get their products cheaper, you're going to benefit more financially. And that's amazing. I mean, when Charlie Regis developed this system, I mean, that's kind of crazy to think about that what's in their best interest is also in your best interest. Now, let's cut that off right here, because now we get into the residual income side of things. And remember, as advisors, you're eligible for 3, 4, and 5. So number 3, and I will say this too, probably 98% of our check right now, and probably 98% of most diamond and higher distributors' checks is all residual income. We sell very little retail and wholesale. I should say we make very little off that, because again, in my mind, this retail is not necessarily in their best interest. And I'm going to tell you why 98% of the check comes from the residual side. Number 3 is what we call override. Now that is a form of residual income that equals 7%. And let me kind of explain the way that works. When you share these products, let's say you share them with your brother and he becomes a wholesale customer. Say he eventually becomes an advisor. So right here, you've got you, okay? And then you've got your brother who becomes an advisor. Now let's just say your brother, so he's cruising along here at 40%, right? And let's just say he's got a buddy that he exercises with and he works out with. This guy's already using protein powders, he's using a pre-workout drink, he's drinking Gatorade, you know, all things that we can provide to him as well. He sees the results your brother's getting, he says, yeah, man, I want some of that stuff too. So he places an advisor order. Now this is when it really gets great for you, okay? Because this is where overrides start to kick in. Every leg that you have that's an advisor, let's just say you got somebody over here too, say that's your best friend, they're also an advisor. Every leg that you have as an advisor, any volume that comes underneath them, you start to make override off of, and that's huge. And this is where things start to get fun. When your brother's buddy places, you know, right, he places that advisor order, right, it's $3,000, right? That's an advisor order, 3,000 retail dollars. So let's think about this. We've got 3,000 retail dollars now that are coming from one of your advisors, okay? And that's where the override comes from. 3,000 retail dollars, what you're going to do is divide that by 2. And so that's going to give you 1,500. And you're like, okay, Ryan, why did you divide it by 2? All of our residual income is calculated off something that we call business volume. Business volume. Business volume is half of retail. So when this guy places a $3,000 retail order under one of your advisors, the business volume from that purchase is $1,500. Now, remember I said override was 7%? So take $1,500 times 7%. That's $105. Now, what's interesting about that is one, you just made $105, okay? So that's $105 that you're going to put in your pocket. That's good stuff. That's good news. Now, what's really cool about that is that $105 qualifies you for the first level of leadership, which is silver, okay? That's what we're talking about here today. Silver. This is what we call leadership. Now, silver, now you guys have all seen the color-coded chart, right? It shows silver, 3%. I'm going to write that right here. It's 3%. And I'm going to talk about the other levels here in a second. But when you hit $100 of override, you then qualify for leadership, which leadership starts at 3%. So you're going to get a leadership bonus with this very first order, all right? 3% of that. So now you get 3% off. And let's just say your brother had a couple other buddies that were buying some products off of it, okay? And let's just say, remember your other, I forget who we said this was, your other friend over here, your best friend, they've got all these people that are buying some products off of them. So as they're doing that, you're going to get 3% off all this. All right, that's why leadership starts to add up so quickly. Because, when you're doing this for 2 years, for 3 years and longer, we've got people that have been doing this for over 15 years in this business. Think how deep all these legs go. Okay, and they start to branch out this way, and they come this way, and this one comes this way, and they just start to go from here on down to infinity. Leadership runs infinity under those advisor legs, okay? You're getting 3% off all that, all right? That's why this starts to grow so rapidly. Now keep in mind, override, the 7%, it goes 3 levels deep, okay? And I don't want to make this too confusing tonight, but override goes 3 levels deep. Leadership goes forever under your advisor legs. Again, that's why 98% of the people who are doing really well in Advocare, this is where all their money comes from. And it starts by sharing the wholesale discount. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Now, the 5th level, well, actually, I want to mention too, this is silver. Okay? Going back to our example, if you can see it, when your brother's buddy places an advisor order, that's silver. That's it. Okay? That's all it is. Okay? It's $3,000 of volume underneath your advisors. And it can come from $1,500 could have come from him, and $1,500 could come from over here, as long as it's $3,000 retail volume under your advisors. Now, as you start to work your way down, let's just say this was silver, right? The next level is gold. That's another 2%. And then you've got 3-star gold. That's another 2%. So again, that's 3. Now we're at 5. And now we're at 7. Okay? So at 3-star gold, you're getting 7% off all this. All right? And again, that's why this adds up so quickly. And keep in mind, I do want to point out too, this 3-star gold is about $40,000 a year. The next level is Ruby, which is about approximately $80,000 a year. You can get to Ruby with 3 business builders. Okay? If you can do this for 3 years and find 1 business builder a year, that's it. 1 business builder a year for 3 years, you could get to Ruby. That's $80,000. Okay, even at gold, it's $40,000. Who wouldn't want an extra $40,000 a year? And if you can find just 1 person a year that wants this as bad as you do, that's it. Okay, that's it. And and again, when you get down to diamond and higher, you're talking like 19%. You're talking even more of all this. Okay, so that's great stuff. Now, the other one and the 5th one, it kind of gets pushed aside, but they're the rookie bonuses. Remember, Advocare pays out $20,000 a year to $20,000 every 2 weeks for your first year in the business. As a rookie, you're eligible for a year in the business. And Advocare pays out $20,000 to the top 7 earners. Rebecca won 1 of these bonuses. Brooks and Chris Reed won 4 of them. Okay, Jason and Angela Pinnell won 8. Okay, which is just nutty to me, but they did it. They won 8 rookie bonuses. And then there's also the trips that go along with that too. And it's just they're obviously they're part of the compensation package because they're phenomenal. I mean, Advocare took us to Hawaii in May. We're getting ready to go to Bora Bora in December. It was one of the incentive trips, so they're just phenomenal trips. But that's part of the compensation package as well, and you can see why. So I hope that makes sense. Let me erase this real quick. That's how we get paid. And, I know, guys, this can be confusing. I know it can be. I mean, we kind of had to live it in order to understand it. And, for those of you that know me, this won't surprise you, but I actually read the compensation plan. I actually highlighted it, and I still had to go through this. And this is where Brooks and Chris, Rebecca and I, or your mentor, your sponsor, we help guide you and educate you as your organization starts to grow and unfold what certain things mean. That's why it's important for you right now to just simply be an introducer. Everything that we covered in the first couple of classes in terms of packaging your story, sharing your story, introducing your sponsor, your mentor, that's what's going to cause your organization to grow. And then we help kind of guide you through that process and help share with you what you need to focus on in order to grow your business. Now, we talked about how we get paid, the advisor conversation. Let's talk about, real quickly, PGV. You hear us talk about that a lot. There's personal volume, group volume, and then total PGV. You hear us talk about 3K a lot. That's $3,000 of PGV. What personal volume looks like is it's all personal purchases. Personal purchases. It's all retail purchases. Okay? When your brother goes to your site and he purchases products retail, he's actually getting them, when he's paying them retail, that goes into your PV column. Okay? When you look into your volumes and earnings, this is there. And then it's also wholesale orders, okay, that are less than $500. So anything less than $500. So it's personal purchases, retail orders, and anything less than $500. That all goes into your personal volume category. Now, group volume is anything that's greater than $500 wholesale. Okay, so that's when somebody does number two, they become a wholesale customer. Say they place a $525 order, that then puts it into your group volume. All right, let's just say they become a wholesale customer and they place a $200 order. Then it goes into your personal volume. And these are important for a couple of different reasons. And I should say, this, you add this plus this, and it equals your total PGV. So that's when we talk about $3,000 PGV. That is a total of personal volume plus your group volume. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And now rookie bonuses, they focus on group volume. That's where this is so important. All right, and we're going to talk a little bit about why personal volume is important here in a second too, and why you understand the difference from one to the other. Okay. Now, I talked earlier about deciding to make the advisor decision and the benefits of that. And I really truly believe, regardless of somebody's intention, that advisor purchase is in their best interest. Why not do the 24-day challenge as cheap as you possibly can? Now, the other option is kind of what we refer to as working your way there. And we've had people do that, and that's great too, because that way they plug into the success system early, they learn how to do it, they introduce people to their sponsors and mentors, and it helps them generate volume for them to get to the advisor level. Now, I kind of look at it a couple of different ways. I hate to see people use up their warm market too much to get to the point where they can start to earn money. If you can make the advisor decision, if you can make that purchase comfortably, and then you introduce your warm market to your mentor, you're going to start to maximize your profits. Now, you can work your way there by introducing your warm market to your mentor. You're just not going to be compensated as much for doing that, but it still gets you to that end point. And let's talk a little bit about what that looks like. Instead of doing it at one time, Advocare gives you the option of spreading it out over 3 separate pay periods. Okay? Now, you guys all know this, I think, but pay periods are typically 2 weeks long. All right? It's the first and the third Tuesday is the last day of the pay period of every month. So they're typically 2 weeks long. What Advocare will let you do, and again, keep in mind, it's personal volume. Remember, we talked about that a second ago. Retail purchases, wholesale purchases less than 500, or personal purchases count as personal volume. If you have $500 of personal volume in, that money then will roll forward to the next period towards your 40% discount level, towards your advisor status, okay? So let's just say somebody does 500 this period, they could do another 500 this period, and then in the third period, they've got to finish it out. Because remember, this whole thing has to equal 3,000 retail, right? 3,000 retail, and it's $2,100 cost. So that means in this period then, they've got to place a $2,000 retail order, or they have to have other people that are placing orders that adds up to $2,000. So again, remember, they can use other people's volume to get to this point. Obviously, you can split this up any way you want to. You can go 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, right? That equals 3,000, okay? You can do it that way if you choose to. You can do it in 2 periods, all right? You could do 2,000 and 1,000. Now keep in mind, we had a couple of people that just did this actually. They became a distributor in one period. They had 500 of personal volume in, which again, it wasn't necessarily out of their pocket, but there are retail purchases, wholesale less than 500, and some personal purchases. And so they got their 500 in this period, and then actually in their second period is when they introduced a lot of people. So they got their advisor status taken care of in 2 periods, okay? And they also had another person do that too. Now, what they can also do, and now this gets a little confusing, is let's just say somebody has $1,000 of volume in this period, and then they come back in this period and they get $1,700 of volume. All right, so 1,000, 1,700, that's $2,700. So your first reaction is, well, great, all they need to do is $300 over here. No, no, that's wrong. What they've got to do, remember, it's got to be $500 of personal volume every single period. If they only get 300 here, they're still not an advisor because you've got 3 consecutive periods, and each period has to be a qualifying order, has to have a minimum of $500 personal volume. So that way it's actually going to end up costing them a little bit more, but they get to that point. So it's just kind of a point of clarification to make sure people understand. Now, that what coming in under 500, or I should say this $500 order here, that's significant, okay? And a lot of times as we work at the end of the close, we see people that place orders. Let's just say if somebody places an order of, $375, okay, they may not have been coached. Somebody may not have told them that at 500 you're going to get to a higher discount level, because now you guys all know that, I think, right? But anywhere from 0 to $499 is a 20% discount. All right, at $500 up to $1,499, it's a 25% discount. And once you get over $1,500, that's a 30% discount. All right, and then at $3,000, you get we initially get a 30% discount off your first order, and then you've got 40% moving forward. So if somebody places a $375 order, they're close to this $500 mark. A lot of times we make sure that they understand that when they get $500, they bump up to 25%. And what's important about that is yes, they're getting a larger discount off those initial products, but this is important. That gives them 2 weeks to use products, or somewhere a little less than 2 weeks maybe, but to use products, to experience the benefits, to feel good and look better, perform better, and their money rolls over to the next period. So say in this period, they've got a buddy that does a $500 order. Now they're getting volume from somebody else. But if they had just been at $375, they would have lost that investment because it would not have rolled forward. And now you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, it's a 20% discount or a 25% discount. That break-even point is $470. If somebody places an order over $470, they have literally spent more money than they need to for less product. Okay, because if they had gotten to 500, they're going to get a larger discount. It's going to bump them back down, and they're actually going to get more product. Okay, so we hate it when we see orders come through at $493, $480, because again, it's not in the customer's best interest. But you only know that if you're educated about all this stuff and you understand how this works. So I think, guys, again, I apologize that Rebecca wasn't here for this one. I'm kind of doing my best here to fill in. I think it was good. The one thing that we did want to wrap up with, and we wrapped up the last class with, was Ladies Alive. Rebecca just got back from the one in Indianapolis. There were new people there that were part of our team that other people had invited, that they saw it, they experienced it. It was phenomenal. It was amazing. Obviously, we're a little prejudiced, but we just think the lineup of speakers that we have coming to the Nashville Ladies Alive event this upcoming Saturday is phenomenal. All right, there are 7 to 8, I think, tremendous, diamond and above speakers. It's going to be an amazing day. It's obviously, last weekend just proved to us again why the #1 rule in Advocare is to get people to events, because you see more, you understand more, you're exposed to more. And, Rebecca even there was a lady on our team that had not been exposed to Advocare at all, right? She was invited by somebody on our team who was literally, she signed up as a distributor that night, and she's talking to Rebecca. She literally called her from the parking lot because she was so excited about what Advocare could do for her and her family. So that's just a quick example of what this can be and what it can do. So again, guys, great job. Keep sharing. Keep sparking people. It's all going to pay off. All these seeds that you're planting now are just tremendous for what this business can do for you in January, February, and March. We want to see you be a part of that massive explosion. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. We will get this recording out on the web tonight or first thing in the morning. And we will see you for one more class next Monday night. Okay? Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.